Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Prospera Pulse. This is where all the voices of Prospera TV Network come together and bring great conversation to you while they are able to share a little bit about their show, the mission behind their voice, and who their show is for. So before we get started, tonight's theme or tonight's topic is going to bring up the conversation that sometimes the thing that we prayed for, the thing that we prayed would go away, is actually a blessing in disguise. And we're going to bring some luck into it as we kind of prepare for St. Patrick's Day next week. So we hope that you post your questions. We hope that you share into the conversation. And why don't you just hit share where you are, because this is something that is near and dear to my heart, that I get to honor the actual heartbeat of Prospera TV Network. And I am the president, Elena Rodriguez, and we are here to just highlight each one of them. So I'm going to bring them on one at a time, let them introduce themselves, let them tell you where they're from, the name of their show, and what you can expect from their show when you tune in. So we're going to start with Miss Julie here.
Hi, everyone. This is Julie Lachlan Harris. I am the founder of Breathe Capital Planning and Divine Abundance is my streaming show.
And what can people expect when they tune into your show?
So it's a mix, Elena, of important information that I like to share with people, things that I've learned as a business owner, as well as interviews with other people in business or other people that are doing things that I think are inspiring or that people should know about. So I do a mix of interview and informational.
Love it. Love it. All right. We're going to bring Miss Martha Kartawi up next. Hello, beautiful.
Well, hello, everybody. I am Martha Glory, and I am in North Carolina. My show is Let Glory Shine. It is a faith-based, inspirational, we like to really get deep about testimonies and really sharing where people came from and what they're doing with their mess or with their trauma and pain and how they're making it their message and their purpose and mission.
And I have to share, you do dive deep. Your host or your guest, I have learned so much just from watching the show. So much healing and resilience coming through, and it's absolutely beautiful. So thanks for being here tonight, and we are going to bring Mr. Daryl up next.
Hey everyone, I'm from Arizona, and my show is A Warrior Spirit. My show is very similar to Martha's, where we give voice to the voiceless, turn their mess into their message, and make it a survival guide for others. So people can see that they're not alone in their journey and that they can get out of wherever they're at if they just have a little bit of faith and work.
Love it. Love it. And we've got one more joining us this evening. We got Miss Tish Ross.
Hey, everybody. My name is Tish Ross. My show is No Judgment Here with Tish Ross, the podcast, and I am based in Texas. My show is just a safe place for people to come and share their stories, to be their true, authentic self without judgment. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Everyone has a testimony or a story, whatever they would like to call it. That's why it's No Judgment Here. Whether you are a believer or you're non-believer, I welcome you to come and just sit and be in a place where you can share what message you have to give to others. And the basis is so that other people know that they are not alone.
I love that. And as we do this show once a month, okay, this is going to be a monthly show. It's an opportunity for you to get a deeper look at all of the shows, all of the show hosts. Some take guests, some do not. And to just let you get to know the person behind the message. And we're going to dive into deep topics. So whether you're watching this live, you could be watching it on YouTube, you could be watching it right here on Facebook. You may be catching the replay at some point on Roku. So wherever you're catching this and whatever time that it finds you, that's when it's meant to. But we are going to dive into a deep topic tonight that I think is It's just a really thought-provoking question. And there are many other show hosts that that aren't joining with us live tonight. So if you just go to Prospera TV Network, you'll be able to find all the different shows there. But every month, whoever can pop on is whoever's going to pop on. So tonight, guys, we're going to go around the room. The question that we're going to ask tonight, and each one of you are going to be able to answer this question, and then we'll be able to dive a little deeper. But what blessing in your life first looked like a setback? And the reason that we're going to talk about this is many people are in what they feel is the setback right now. Many people, guys, let's just admit it. Life is lifing for like everyone in some way, shape, or form. I even saw somebody say that they just feel like the energy has shifted. It's heavy right now. So I don't think anyone is exempt from that. But if somebody is feeling like they're in that setback moment right now and hope is running a little bit low, let's share with them how you have turned what you felt was a setback into a blessing today. And Julie, I'm going to start with you because you were the first one to hop on tonight. So why don't you go ahead? Mm-hmm.
I get the honor for being prompt, right?
Yeah.
So your question was, what is something that we've experienced that when we were first in it, we looked at it as a setback, but as we've come through it, it may have turned into a blessing for us, Elena? Is that the question?
Yep.
Okay. I would say both of my parents getting sick at the same time. At the time that I was dealing with that, and that's very fresh, as you guys know, but it was a 3-year odyssey, a 3-year journey of, dealing with severe, very, very serious illness all at the same time. Do you want me to keep going and answer the whole question all in one segment? Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was just supposed to tell you my answer and then we go around and then you come back. Okay. Sorry. My nighttime brain is not as good as my daytime. The biggest thing that I've learned from it is so many lessons. Like the biggest one being spend as much time as you possibly can with your loved ones, because you truly don't know if tomorrow is promised to you. And, learning all the things that I did about the type of advocate that you need to be today for your loved ones in the hospital setting, in the long-term care settings. I learned a lot about the laws in the state of New York where I am. And I learned a lot about how to empower a patient and what are the things that a patient would need to do as they navigate cancer. I learned a lot about frontal lobe dementia. I learned so much about the importance of a transparent family plan. And this is what I keep posting about, Elena, and I'm passionate about this now. It's really important. My dad did a really good job of being very transparent with me and my brother and actually inviting us to his estate planning session with his lawyers so that my brother and I were so clear on what he wanted. And we just executed his plan. And when Dad got really sick and took a hard turn left, guys, if he hadn't done that, I would have had to make major decisions for him, like feeding tube decisions, end of life decisions. And I didn't have to make those because my father had the foresight to make those and do it in a way that was very transparent with me, my brother, our whole family, as well as his assets and his property. What did he want to have happen with that? That plan was all laid out. And I'm the executor of the estate, and it's probably one of the cleanest estates I've ever seen. Wow. And as you guys know, I do this for work. I do this for business. So I actually help people all day long with their estate planning. But just actually having a plan for yourself and then communicating that plan to your loved ones is a massive gift. And just being organized with your information and really just letting them know what you want when you're no longer here.
And that's probably one of the things that people shy away from because we don't want to talk about death and not being here. And you think like, I'll get to that later. And sometimes we know later never gets here. So it's amazing that you're able to just really talk about it so
Mhm.
openly, as fresh and raw as it is.
Yep.
It is a true gift that you're giving everyone as you share this information.
And I'm going to be doing more and more segments. Alina, you just aired my last one last week on long-term care, where I really just talked about what should you think of? What are some things to know? And I'm going to be doing more and more of those segments, just educating, transferring knowledge from me to you, to everybody who wants to view the videos. Hopefully lots of people do. It's a knowledge transfer. It's what I've learned. It's the journey that I went on. I learned it firsthand, to help other people.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And Martha, what about you? What blessing in your life first looked like a setback?
So I've been sitting here trying to pick one because there's been so many. But I guess the one that really sticks out the most is divorce. I never wanted to get divorced. I prayed that I wouldn't get divorced for over 7 years and begged God to change his heart and to bring him to him and all the things. Like I begged and pleaded with God. And eventually I woke up and was like, I have to do this. And it was with a really heavy heart that I had to make that decision. But looking back now, almost 5 years later, I realized the blessing that it was, because I had outgrown not only him, I'd outgrown the marriage, I had outgrown the corporate life that I was living. I outgrew so much of what that marriage stood for. And so, for me, it was part of my growth journey and my healing journey to let that relationship go. And now finding myself getting married again, I see the blessing that it means. Thank you. I see the blessing that it is to be aligned with myself, with God, with a partner. And I didn't have that in my first marriage. And so it's been very, very clear that, what was really difficult to make that decision and to go through at that time has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. So
I love that you bring that up, because a lot of people carry that. Like I know I did. I would wipe the table and be like, divorce is not an option. Divorce is not an option. And, here we are. I'm on marriage number 3. So obviously divorce was an option. But, people that are in it, holding on to that mindset, it's kind of like, at one time, I remember having like a conversation about this, that sometimes when there's a marriage taking place and we put God's blessing on it, sometimes God's looking down and saying, I did not put that one together. Like you all put my name on that. And so I think God is going to bring you to the place you need to be to become the person that you're here to be. And so I love that was one of the things that you brought up, because divorce, I guarantee you, many people watching this, whether right now or on the replay, are probably wiping their table saying divorce is not an option, and it's suffocating them. And not like we're out here like promoting divorce, but sometimes that growth, how you called it, growth, it's kind of like that weed that's like poking through the cement, like you're fighting to find your way. Mm-hmm.
I would have stayed boxed in, and my growth would have been suffocated if I had remained in that marriage. Right. Yeah. And so, yes, like the whole thing about God looking down and going, I didn't put my blessing on that. Right. From the beginning, we were unequally yoked in so many different ways, but I didn't even know what that meant. Yeah. Right. Like I wasn't a believer at that time. I didn't have the faith and the understanding and the growth journey and the healing journey that 15 years of that marriage would teach me. Mm-hmm. But at some point I understood that I could no longer continue to grow and follow the Lord in the way that I had chosen if I had stayed in the marriage. So.
I love that. I love that you share that. Real quick, we're going to welcome Jackie on before we move back to Daryl for his question. But Jackie, why don't you let people know where you're tuning in from, the name of your show, what your viewers can expect when they tune in?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but I've been in Central Jersey for the last 5 years. I'm happy to be in the same space with you, amazing superstars. And my show is all about the power of the pause. So, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, anything that creates the brain fog, the confusion, and the heat that I'm feeling right now. It's all about that. And even turning 57 this year, I'm still hot. So, yeah.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Welcome back to you in just a minute. Daryl, you're up. What blessing in your life first looked like a setback?
Like most of the show hosts, we could pick from 1,000 of them, lots of things. The one that I'm going to talk about tonight is something I wrote about in the anthology, my chapter in Say Yes to the Whisper that I recently had published. And so my wife and I have been together for 11 years, but she got sick 3 months into our relationship. And so I've been spending 11 years with a, chronically ill partner. And so she wasn't able to continue working. And so I've had to be the, caregiver and the financial household person. And so I was working at the University of Grand Canyon University. I was helping people get their PhD. She got sick. I was spending 3 and 4 days a week at the doctor's office or the hospital or the clinic or wherever. And of course, my job wasn't allowing me to, spend that much time away. So I went into real estate. And real estate, I spent 8 years doing that, which is extremely difficult. And you give more of your life to real estate than you do your family. As a matter of fact, I was sitting at my father's deathbed writing up a contract while the nurses were tending to him projectile vomiting because real estate doesn't have an off switch. And I vowed never again would I go through that. I remember too many times that I left my wife at a dinner party or a dinner or in a setting where I had to get up and go take care of clients. So I was praying for a way out of that. And I grew up in Minnesota and in a very tumultuous household. And one of my best friends up there called me and said, "Hey, he's a logistics operator, courier service." He said, "I have this new client coming on. I need someone who I trust to help get this started. It'll only be a couple of months," which meant that I had to leave my wife and go to Minnesota. Well, we talked about it. She said yes. I went up there and it turned into 9 months. And over that 9-month period, I started to, now 9 months away from my wife or her having to travel every so often to come up and see me was not ideal. It really sucked. And when I got up there, I started to get the healing call in the back of my head that I had done talk therapy. I'd done traditional therapy. I'd been in personal development for my entire life. I thought I was good with my demons. I was not. And that 9 months allowed me to meet a practitioner who specialized in trauma. And we excavated literally the demons out of me. I was able to go to my grandparents' house, knock on the door of a stranger and say, "Hey, I grew up in this house. Can I just walk around and do?" So I'm walking around with my hands out and saying, goodbye to all these demons. I went to their grave for the first time in 40 years, forgave them. I went to the Catholic church that I went to as a child, forgave all that happened there. And for the first time in my entire life, I was able to live as me. 58 years with a mask. And now at 58, now I'm 61, but at 58, I was finally able to live with me. And had I not endured those 9 months, I would never have been as healed as I am.
Wow.
And along that same time is when my podcast started taking off. which is when you started Prospera TV, which is when then we became on Roku, and now TV show host or radio show host, an author, going to write my own book, surrounded myself by people like you in this panel who are full of love and grace and joy that I never would have had if I would have just said, I'll still be broke here and do what I'm going to do instead of going to follow what God said. And on the way back home, after those 9 months, because Elsa finally said, hey, it's time to come home. And my friend said, hey, I know you, I trust you. Can I create a job for you that you can do from Arizona and just be my logistics manager? And so I was able to step out of real estate, step into doing this, still build my own business, and have the flexibility to still care for my wife.
Wow.
None of that looked great on paper at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So having to leave and go work somewhere that looked like, not the ideal option. And then like, look at everything, all the blessings that came out of that.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Tish, what about you, hon? What blessing in your life first looked like a setback?
Man, life is beautiful, and I am grateful for every single setback. I can say that today with 100% honesty. The many setbacks in my life in particular, and not woe is me, but thank you God for them, because that has allowed me to become the voice that I am today. And that is to have a platform where other people can share their stories and to use their voice to help change other people's lives. I think the one that comes to mind, and I think the Lord sets things in our minds for a reason. There's somebody out there that is going to tune in, like you said, whether it's now, tomorrow, later on, next week, next year. But God doesn't punish us. He's not out to punish us. I learned that was not true in a religion that I was in, and I thought I was supposed to be perfect in order for God to love us. And when I was a kid, so I'm speaking to those that may have been abused as a child, or maybe know someone that is being abused, or maybe you're a young teenager watching and you're not sure what to do with that. I can remember when I was a child, I was probably 7, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I got in trouble for doing something. My dad was abusive. I love my dad. I always preface that with I love my dad. My dad is, we are all human beings that took on roles. And one of the roles was parenting. And none of us are perfect. And unfortunately, addictions happen. And it could be from trauma from when he was growing up. He was raised by alcoholics. But as a kid, I didn't know that. And I used to, as a teenager, ask God, why didn't you let me know that when I was younger? It would have been much easier for me to get through knowing that you were there, but he was there. And I think, our minds are so young that there's no way to grasp the vastness of who God is, the beauty of who he is and what he does for us. I think if we did, they say that if you think you know it all, then you won't turn to God anymore. And I believe that might be true. I believe that in some of my best times, in the past, had tended to forget to praise God. But now I praise God in the good and in the bad, because there's growth in both. But when I was a kid, I was on my knees on a wood floor. And I can remember that. So my dad was a raging alcoholic. He was abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I was on my knees and kneeling on a wood floor. He had me upright on my knees. And those door stops, they were like irons, those 5 pound, I don't know if they're 5, maybe 3 pounds, 5, felt like 1,000 pounds as a kid. But I was on my knees and he had me hold my arms up with those weights, or those iron casts up. And if I bent my arms, I was going to get a beating. If I sat back on my heels, I was told I was going to get a beating. And so I believed him, and I did not want to get a beating, right? I want to be that perfect, good child. But God was there, because as I was on my knees and my arms were starting to get super shaky, super weak. He put me in a position where I could see the bathroom. And thank God that when you drink a lot of alcohol, you have to pee a lot. And so my dad would get up, go to the bathroom, and that was God's sign for me to rest your arms, sit back, you're going to get through this. And so, and I did, I made it. And so if anybody's listening, I'm telling you, you may not know it now, and I didn't know it then, but the revelation is that God is with you always. He's with you through the good. He's with you he's always with you, and he's not punishing you. He's not punishing you. And I want to end on this scripture that I love. Let me see if I can find it. I had it pulled up really quick. It is, well, of course I can't find it when I need it, but it's in the book of James, and it is, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. I can't find it, and I can't quote it, but when you are in the midst of any trials or tribulations, to consider it pure joy, because that produces perseverance, it produces strength, it produces wisdom, and it does. And I do consider it pure joy. I do. And I will say that, though, in the midst of it, am I excited about the things that are happening? And am I, saying, yoo-hoo, this is fun? No, I'm not. But I know that God is with me, and that's where the joy comes from.
And I love that. It makes me think of, at the time when I took on the title of widow, I was 44, took on the title of widow, and I knew, as deep as that hole was getting and as horrible as things were going for me, I just remember, because my faith tank was full. Nothing else in my life was going well, but I knew God was there. And at that time I could say, like, I don't know what you're doing here with me right now, but I know it's something. And so I think for when you are in those setbacks, for me, faith is just the lifeline. That's the thing that just carries through. And I was going to call Jackie up. She's at work, so I don't know if she got pulled away. But for me, I guess I'll share real quick. That way. Oh, there she comes. Okay, we'll let her go. It's your turn, Jackie. I want to give you guys the time to answer this, because each month, what I love about Prospera, and this is something that I want all the viewers to know, is that for all of us, our God, our God, our faith, that's the foundation. It's the foundation of why this network was even built. God said, protect what I'm giving you. So we are a platform that you can openly come and share your faith. And that's something that I hold very, it's just important to me. So I'm just letting y'all know now, wherever you're tuning in, whenever you tune in, you're going to hear about our God. That's just the way it is, because that's what we do here. Jackie, your turn. Beautiful. What blessing in your life first looked like a setback?
Wow. Like everyone says, there's so many of them. And at that moment, you feel like you're out of breath. You don't know what's happening. And what Tish said, growing up, if something bad happened, it was because you deserved it, because you did something bad. You were being punished. What a horrible way to grow up. And I can say that with a smile and a happy heart, because I've learned. I think that the blessing was when with my second marriage, it fell apart and I lost everything. And because of choices, I'm not going to say, oh, it was his fault. Because of the choices that happened and me trying to keep things together, I lost everything. My career in law enforcement, my pension, my home. But I didn't lose myself. I didn't lose my kids. And I didn't lose my dogs. So I was happy. I'm a dog person. At that moment, of course, I was scared. I was confused. But I was walking in eggshells in that marriage. I had to be mindful of what I said and what I did. So I had asked God 10 days before, on my knees crying. And I was pregnant with my fourth child, which was my daughter. I had my daughter in May. This happened in February. And I was praying, please get this man out of my life. I was in tears on my knees. Please get him out of my life. And I said, by any means necessary. Boy, he got that word, because the explosion that happened needed to happen. I learned to be independent, to be strong. And during that time that I was still rebuilding myself, working 2 jobs and doing women empowerment and networking, that's when I met my sister there, Elena. And we didn't even plan on meeting. We just met. And look at that. She was my missing link, you see, all these years. And then I found freedom. I never thought I could do it. And that was 2007. So I'm still working 2 jobs and sometimes 3, but I'm happy. And my other major thing that I learned when I turned 50 was my mistake in my relationships, or maybe even friendships, was that I was always looking to make the other person happy, being a people pleaser. And I thought that if I made you and you and you happy and did whatever, that I would be happy. Boy, was I wrong, because I forgot to love myself first. And that was my big lesson, at 50. And then growing up also Catholic, the way my mom was, talking about God and whatever, you stood quiet about it because you didn't want to offend other people. I think that was wrong too. But she did the best that she could with what she had. I don't impose anything on anyone, but I am grateful every single day. I've learned to surrender. And with today's message from the book that Elena Rodriguez showed me about 2 years ago, which I carry every day, it tells me today, walk by faith and not by sight. And that's powerful, because I'm surrendering to him and I know he loves me. He doesn't judge me. He's not cruel to me. He adores me. And it's powerful because I didn't really get that from my dad. I lost my dad 30 some odd years ago and my mom a year before that. So to know that he loves me, God, I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Everything else is a bonus. So yeah. So that's me.
Yeah. I love that. And yes, we did meet by I guess coincidence. Quick, I got to share that story just real quick. I was in Brooklyn for a business conference. I didn't know nobody. It was my first time like traveling. And little thing about me, I'm very introverted. Like, I don't like people if I don't have to be around people. And I'm very introverted, and I traveled all day. And when you're done with like flying and you're at the airports and you just kind of feel like, everything's just like dirty. And I got to the hotel room and I was starving, and I went to use the phone to order room service. I just wanted to order dinner and I just wanted to stay in, and it kept not going through. And then they said, like, we'll have to call you back. And they called me back, and it still like wasn't going through. And I literally heard God say, just go downstairs and eat. And I'm like, I look like crap. I feel like crap. I'm tired, but okay, I'm hungry. And so I go down and I'm sitting at the bar. I order a hamburger. I'm having a beer and feeling all nasty and stuff. And don't you know, Jackie shows up with this worldwide networking women's event and all these women on all these and I just wanted to hide. And I just met all these people, and that's not even the event that I was there for. And her and I have stayed connected like ever since. So when God said, just go downstairs, he would not let my phone work to order food up. He made me get out of my comfort zone. So that's just
Yeah, and you're so connected with a lot of the women that you met there too.
Yeah, still am. So we're going to get into, with this being kind of before St. Patty's Day, I have a tattoo on my arm that has a little shamrock and it says believe, because my stepdad, my bonus dad, Mr. Fred Lee, he was Irish and he called us little leprechaunos because, Mexican leprechauns. So to honor him, let's talk about luck for a minute. Let's talk about luck, and we'll go in the same round. but honestly, do you guys like believe in luck, or do you believe that blessings come through like action and faith? I mean, is there such thing as like, oh, when people are like, well, you must have gotten lucky there. Well, like, what's your response to that, Julie? Like, you go on
Yeah,
this one.
you know me, Alina. I'm a grinder. I'm a hard worker. So,
Yeah.
but I do believe in luck. There is something to it. There's something magical about it, and I believe if you're out there and you're doing the work and you're putting in the time, there will be times that you do get incredibly lucky. I can remember a couple of times that when I was working for one of the world's billionaires, and I was traveling a lot, and I was in a competition to be number one on the East Coast against, I was the only female on the East Coast that did the work that I did. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ask this last customer. It was like my last sales call of the year, December. I'm like, I know you got a sale coming up. By chance, do you need a truckload order? I'm talking a truckload. And he's like, you know what, Julie? If you can extend me that discount you did for me last month, absolutely. You know what? I might take 2 truckloads.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Because I knew I had the discretion, and I just wrote the order and I blew past everybody, and I was number one that year. So I think, it was a combination for me of doing the work, being at the right place at the right time, and just like having a spot of luck.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Good for you. What about you, Martha?
So luck is an interesting thing because I've had this conversation before with people. So I don't believe in luck, but I do believe in energy. And so and karma and God and all the things. So what we put out is what we get back, right? And I think God has a sense of humor. And so sometimes it's like those things that you don't even dare to pray for because it's too outrageous. And then God's like, and here you go, right? And so that's what some people would consider lucky, because that happens a lot in my life where it just comes out of nowhere and it completely blesses me and it's amazing, right? But I think it's there's more to that. It's our spirit, it's our energy, it's what we put out, it's karma, it's all the combination of all those things. But for me, it's mostly spirit, and I have this cool relationship, and he trusts me enough to bless me. So love that.
Oh, I love that. He trusts me enough to bless me. I love that. I love that. What about you, Daryl? You believe in luck?
Well, at my age, luck and getting lucky was a different term. So, in all seriousness, though, I think Martha and I are like two sides of the same coin, because I think you create your luck. I think Julie got her luck because she went out and asked for another sale. I don't think if she was just sitting at the bar, he would have came to you and said, you know what, 2 truckloads. So I think we create our luck. I think our energy and our actions give that to us. The thing about luck is it's the same 4-letter word that other people don't want to do, and that's work. You got to work to make your luck. It's like, I've wanted to win the lottery for 61 years, but I don't buy a ticket. So how am I going to get lucky? Like, they're just going to gift it to me? No, I got to go out and do something for it. So I'm like Martha. I think our energy, and if we can show that we can handle little, God will bless us with more.
Yeah.
And that's where we, feel lucky.
Yeah, that is true right there. What about you, Tish?
So I don't believe in luck. I believe that, also I do believe in energy. I'm not sure about manifestation. I believe that you work hard, and I guess you manifest good things, but I'm not in control of my life. I am in control of what I do. And I'll tell you, the main reason that I don't believe in luck is because there was a time when I had nothing except for 2 little kids, no job. My car had just gotten towed by my ex-husband from the driveway. And I thought, what am I going to do? And it wasn't luck that my neighbor said, hey, you want to go to church with us? We'll carry you there. We'll drive you there. And I was like, I mean, I guess. So he drove me to a church and had never heard of it, never been. We just walked in the church with my 2 kiddos. And there was a man there that had asked me how I was doing. The first time anybody had asked me how I was doing through all that was going on in my life. And I started bawling and just spilt the beans and told him that, I had just gotten a job, but my car had just gotten towed. And he said, well, you know what? I mean, I don't know that, you're guaranteed a car, but we actually have a Cars for Christ program here. And there are hundreds of people that write letters and submit letters. And the group that receives those submissions pray over who they will select to receive a car. And, why don't you take a chance, And he said, you might get lucky. And I thought, okay, I will. So shamefully at the time, I wrote this letter, submitted it. And 3 days later, I get a phone call from the pastor there. And he said, Tish, we have a car for you. And so I feel like because the group prayed over it, that was an answer to God's prayer. It wasn't luck, So that's me.
I love that. I love that story every time you share that story. I really do. Jackie, what about you? Do you believe in luck?
I want to say no. And the reason I say that is because I remember growing up, someone would have whatever. Oh my God, she's so lucky. He's so lucky. But just like Darryl and everyone else said, I believe that luck comes from being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so preparing, putting in the work, putting in the idea, putting in the efforts and the energy will then, again, prepare and create is how I get there. So if I want to be impactful, if I want to share a story, if I want to share my lessons, I just can't say, oh, I want to share this, but eventually I'll talk to someone or I'll post something. I got to put in the work. It's preparing myself for whatever is meant to be mine because it's already in the works. Mm-hmm. So if it's not exactly what I'm looking for, I don't look at it anymore as rejection, but a redirection to where I really need to be so I can get what's really mine. So preparing, creating, staying positive, the energy, I think that's important. I believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a great point. For years, really for probably most of my life up until just a few years ago, I really believed in the earn, you got to earn it and do, do this to get that as far as in God's world instead of simply believing and receiving. And so, Tish, when you talk about that manifestation, that was always a really hard thing for me. Like I couldn't understand when I would hear people say, well, like, I'm just going to sit back and like manifest this in my life. But I still could watch them for years, still trying to like manifest this thing in their life. I could never understand it until I realized like you can manifest things, but you got to take the action. You've got to take the steps. You've got to, do the work. It doesn't just like, oh, I'm just going to drop this in your lap. So it was really hard for me when I would see people just like, I'm just going to like manifest this. And then they don't do nothing. And then they convince themselves that it just wasn't meant to be. And it's like, how about you take some action? And so it's just it's like a fine line, it's like there's, you can believe, but you still got to do the things. You still have to work for it. And so for me, I feel like I am a weird balance of a little bit of this and a whole lot of that. Like and Martha's shaking her head. Like, you can have all the faith in the world, but you got to hit the ground running. Like you've got to do the work. So right now, I'm just going to throw out a couple more questions, and whoever wants to answer them can answer them because we're going to start like coming up into the wrapping up of this. So here's the next question. What opportunity showed up in your life that you almost missed? And who wants to take that one?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So, you got a lot of you guys have heard my story, but just to sum it up for people that might be listening to us for, the first time, I was at a crossroads in my life, post divorce, going to get on a plane to travel out of town. It was my son's birthday. My father looked at me as he walked me to the terminal, and he's got tears in his eyes, and he's like, "You know what, friend? Time for a change. Your life and your career, they're not matching. They're not supporting you in the way that you need. You're so brilliant. You're so gifted. You're so ambitious. Why not start your own company?" And that rang in my ear all the way to Texas and all the way back. And I'm like, you know what? My dad's right, but what am I supposed to be doing? So I started researching. I had a background in law, but I also had a background in financial. I said, I don't know. I just feel this calling to go in the financial direction. And had I not listened to that little seed that my dad put on my heart and like believing that I could do it and also listening to God kind of like pulling me in that direction, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the company that I have today. I wouldn't even know you guys right now. Like that is a huge aha for me. I wouldn't have had the time, Daryl, to your point, what you went through with your father. If I worked for that big corporation, they would not have given me the type of time that I took off for 2.5 years to care for my own family. So when I tell you I'm so grateful that I paused and I listened to my instinct and the calling on my life. Like I'm eternally grateful for that.
I love that. And we met at a speaking competition. So imagine imagine if we had never met each other.
We wouldn't know each other.
We wouldn't know each other. Who else wants to answer that? What opportunity showed up in your life that you almost missed? Anybody? Daryl? Oh, you're on mute. Or we got no sound.
Oh, there we go. We're good? Yeah.
Yep.
My wife is actually the blessing I almost missed because I was in the middle of working full-time, getting my master's degree full-time, and didn't have time for dating. And I was 49 years old and had just moved into a new apartment, was on a dating app only to update my address because I didn't have time for dating. And I came across her picture and she was holding a pair of high heels, jumping over a wave in Boston. And I just reached out and said, hey, love your smile. Thought nothing of it. And she came back to me and said, I don't text. If you want to meet, we have to speak in person. And I thought, well, that's pretty ballsy. First off, I don't have time for that, but okay, I like your spunk. So I went, and our 30-minute meet and greet turned into a 5-hour conversation, which is now an 11-year relationship. Wow. And if I would have just said F you for your ballsiness, I would never have had her. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to give us each of you time, a few minutes to go back around the room. And for anyone that is tuning in, I think everyone that we have here is actually on the guest request form for Prospera, but I want you to share in your words as people are watching. If you're looking for guests, if you're open to welcoming guests on your show, who are you looking for? What would you love to talk about so that maybe somebody's like, oh gosh, I don't know if I would be a good fit. Why don't you tell the viewers who you're actually looking for, who you would welcome to be on the guest? And so we'll just go back around the room. Julie?
I'm looking for the disruptors. I'm looking for people that aren't okay with the status quo and they want to disrupt things. And they've got a new way of looking at things or a new way of doing things that could really help change the vibration of the planet. So I'm looking for people that are like out on the cutting edge, wanting to try things, uplifting people, positivity, connection to God. Those are all things that are really important to me. And I am looking to share more of that with the world.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What about you, Martha?
So I am looking for guests that are not only willing to share their testimony, but are serving with their testimony. I think that the only reason why any of us truly choose to heal is in order to evolve and then to serve. And so I think that evolution and serving is really important to the message that I'm bringing to the world. And I know that there's lots of people that have a story, like Tish says, all of us have a story and a testimony, but not all of us are willing to serve from that place. And I think the power is from serving from that place.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love that. What about you, Daryl?
So the guests that I have, like Martha said and Tish said, we all have a story. And so what I love about my show is often I hear, I've never told that to anyone before. Thank you for giving me a safe space to share that part of my life. And what I don't want is my show to become trauma porn. I want people who have not only overcome their situation, but are now telling their story from victory, not victim. And that is how others can find the pathway through their own stuff. If they're hearing that inspirational message of, I was there, but I am here, and this is how I got there. So we touch on their story. We don't stay in their story. We stay in the arc of how they overcame it and what they're doing with it now, because most people who've come through something are reaching behind to help others. And that's what I want my show to do.
Oh, I love that. Most people have gone through have reaching behind for others. I love that. That gives me a cool visual, as I love to picture all of this in my head. So perfect. What about you, Tish?
I am looking for anyone that has a story to tell, anyone that feels like they've been silenced, anyone that is still in the midst of their trauma, anyone that has overcome, anyone who is sharing because of whether you are still a victim, come on. If you're a victor, come on. I want you to know that this is a safe place for you to come and be your true, authentic self and to share where you're at, what you need, where you're going, where you want to be, and to know that whether you're a believer or not, come on. I want to hear you. I want to meet you. I want you to feel welcomed. And I'm currently partnered with the Innocence Project, which is huge. It's been a huge blessing to meet families and to meet those people that are incarcerated still for crimes that they say they have not committed. And it's a beautiful thing to see their families so strong and backing them up in it. So if you're still in it, if you've just gotten over it, if you're well past it, you can come on my show. I want you to come and share.
That's awesome. And Jackie, with yours, it may be surprising, but I know that you've had men that have chosen your show to be a guest on. And so why don't you talk about what type of guests that you're open to having on your show?
Absolutely. So first thing I want to say to Tish, the Innocent Project, I've seen a few documentaries, and what they do is amazing. It really, really is. So I'm very impressed with that. And then in regards to what I wanted to do, I always looked for the way to serve. For years, I didn't know how to serve. I want to serve people because I know that's my purpose in life. Then I realized, just like everyone else, sharing your story, listening, sharing so you could be validated, to be seen, to be heard, and have that safe space. The people that I want on the show is anyone who's willing to talk about their experiences, whether it's them having it or a family member going through the menopause, because you don't know what it is. All these years during perimenopause, when I wasn't feeling myself, that's what I would tell my kids. Mom's not feeling right. Mom's not feeling herself. And they would be supportive because they knew that my energy, my vibes wasn't the same. So that's important to me. So that perimenopause doesn't only affect women, it affects everyone around you. Your sons, your husband, your brother, your uncle, whoever is that family member that you're around, even at work. And then all the information that I've learned, the certifications, the reading and all that, it's amazing that I struggled and suffered in silence because I was afraid. I didn't have a woman to talk to and say, this is what I'm feeling. I would talk to myself in my head and I was like, sounds crazy. Did I have itchy ears for 16 years? Are they dirty? Do I gotta put in deeper the Q-tip? I went to specialists and I went to allergy doctors and ENTs to find out years later it was because of my low estrogen or having arthritis pains or joint pain or just even your body changing, the smell of your body, everything, your hair. It was amazing. And then having that knowledge, I felt empowered. And I said, all these years that thought I was going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, there got to be a lot of bunch of women out there going through it.
Yeah.
Or I had a friend of mine at 41. She had a full hysterectomy because of fibroids. And she went from perimenopause to menopause in one day. And the next day it's over. So we have to share that. So I think it's important.
It is so important. And I can't even tell you that the moment that you came out so passionate about this, I'm like, there it is. That's your thing. Like, we're there. So congratulations. It's been exciting for me to actually watch this evolve for you and everything that you're doing with it, because it's growing for you. So your show is so important. So guys, I want to thank you guys for sharing your time with us tonight. And again, for those that are tuning in, this is something that we are going to be doing once a month. You're going to meet different show hosts each time. We're going to actually pick a different day of the week each month to give opportunity for everyone to get to the shows that they can. So our next live airing of the Prospera Pulse in April is going to be on the 9th. So April 9th, and it's our topic for that show is, what dream did you think had died and God revived? So that's going to be a really fun conversation to have. But as far as for tonight, if you're in that setback, moment, just keep going. Just hang on. There is light up ahead. There is support. Even reach out through Prospera TV Network. We have a whole community of people who genuinely care. We're not here just because we want to see our name in lights or shout out the numbers. We are here because we genuinely care and believe in the work that we are doing. So be sure to follow us at Prospera TV Network on YouTube, on Facebook, but on Roku. Be sure to search Prospera TV Network and download the app, and you can catch our shows 24/7. There's a mixture that's playing 24/7, so you can catch all of these amazing shows at any time. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And before we wrap up, do any of you have any last thing that you want to share? We're all good. All righty, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we will see you next month.